Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Bhagavate Shri Swami Narayanaya Namo Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Sarvamangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samstita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha Om Trambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Om Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Mahakali Rupena Samstita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samstita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Mahasaraswati Rupena Samstita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha Om Shri Guru Stotram Om Akhandamangalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shashvatam Shantam Divya Bhoga Samanvitam Om Dhyanamulam Gurur Murti Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam Mokshamulam Gurur Krupa Tameva Mata Chapita Tameva Tameva Bandhusha Sakha Tameva Tameva Vidya Dravinam Tameva Tameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Welcome to Daily Satsang. We are continuing our contemplation on the Vivek Chudamani, which is describing about the Atma. What is the Atma? How to realize the Atma Tattva. And the word Viveka, just to remember, means the discriminative ability between that which is real and that which is unreal. That which is temporary, that which is permanent. That which is causing pain and joy, pain and pleasure, versus that which is Ananda, that which is divine joy, that is always present. So that is some of what the word Viveka means. Many other meanings are there. So to continue from last time, we were examining the verse number 23, and we looked at, the actual meaning of the word Uparati and many other objects. Many other concepts related to that. So the basic notion here was to turn the mind, turn the mental power that is going in the senses back into their respective energy centers, and then from there, the stability of the mind occurs, because the mind is so unstable. It's moving and roaming around in the world of the senses constantly in different ways. So Shankaracharya ji has explained here in verse number 23 that the freedom from the influence of external objects is part of what is the goal, actually. Because that freedom is what we are looking for. We don't want to be stuck in the influence of the external objects, because there will be no end to that. That causes rebirth upon rebirth, and it continues that way. So the influence of the external objects means the dependency on there. See, the word here is Bahya Nalamba Nam. Bahya Nalamban, Bahya Nalamban means Bahya Alambam. Alambam means it's the dependency on the alamba means like the attachment toward. Attachment is there, but alamba actually means dependency is there, it means support actually. That we are continuously feeling that we have to have the supports of all the external objects, and we do to some extent. But the influence of that is so heavy that when we drop that that dependency and that need for support on the external objects, the mind begins to retract back into the Atma. So the word vrittehe or vritti here are the thought waves. So those thought waves that continue from inside and out, those thought waves are the three gunas of Maya. That's what they are. Sattva gun, Rajogun, Tamogun. That is what are the thought waves. So those thought waves are where the Jivatma is identified with them, and it is just swimming with them all the time. It is not able to come out of that. So Shankaracharya ji is talking about bringing these thought waves back into the Atma. So the back into the Atma, that is self-withdrawal, that is uparati. Uparatihi, see, uparatihi ruttama. That when you are able to bring the thought waves back inside your own heart, inside your mind, with the best integration, that is called uparati, and that is the best type of uparati. Uparati meaning it's the best type of withdrawal, where one is able to take the senses and bring them inside. Now, this is not something that somebody can do just like that. This is something that requires a bit of practice. Some time is required in this, as well as a good deal of patience to recognize that if we want to discover what is the Atma, then the continuous flow of the mind and its energies that is being dissipated, that needs to be brought back inside. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, through the senses we gain so many different types of experiences all the time. So we have to decide a certain range of experience, and within that range of experience, then that'll maintain the body, maintain the basic good environment, etc. And then not to go outside that range. Because when one goes outside that particular predetermined range, then the mind is just going to go back in 10, 20 different directions again, and it will just be caught again and again inside the experiences of the sansar. And that's fine. I mean, those who don't want to realize the Atma, then that's what's going to happen. You know, keep watching movies and have parties and do different things and friends and relatives, and it just goes on. And whatever it is, you know, the different stimulations of this world, nothing wrong with it. It is what it is. But that will not lead to the realization of the Atma. What will lead to realization of the Atma is to recognize that the freedom that we're looking for is internal to begin with. It's an internal freedom. And it is an internal freedom from everything that is external. Externally, things are there, certain amount is required, and then using that as a doorway, using that as a benefit for further development. Like right now, we're spending this time looking at this verse number 23. We're spending the last 15 minutes doing that. So time is spent in this. Time could have been spent watching a movie or going for some friend's house or doing something else. That's all fine. It's all good stuff. Nonetheless, time is being spent on contemplating on something much higher, something much greater. And so when we spend time in that direction, that will bring us closer to our inner freedom. Because what we're looking for is internal freedom. You know, our own desires can victimize us. That's the problem. Our internal desires, ichha, has no end actually. You know, one desire is fulfilled, another comes, another is fulfilled. It just goes on and on and on and on. There's no end to that. And when we realize that that's the nature of it, then one is able to harmoniously live in the inner stability, inner world, and still have contact with all those things outside. But the higher realization is so intense. जिसको ब्रह्म चिंतन कहते हैं, भजन भक्ति, higher realization, ध्यान, meditation, these things are so powerful. And when you get a glimpse of the higher reality, everything here becomes dull. It becomes equal. It becomes automatically, it doesn't touch you then. It's like a person I mentioned this before. Somebody who is working for $24,000 a year, all of a sudden wins a lottery and is a multi-millionaire, has $500 million. All those small jobs and everything as that person was doing doesn't touch that person anymore, because he's beyond, come so much beyond all that. Now the question becomes where to move and what to buy and what. It's a totally different kind of life, right? If someone went from $24,000 a year to $500 million in their bank account, don't you what kind of massive change will happen? Friends will change, and all the objects around the person will change. The quality of life changes. Everything, all of the misery of working that repetitive job as a cashier or something, all that disappears. Isn't it so? Everything disappears. That's why people buy lotteries. That's why people go to casinos and they want to win money. And who doesn't? Everybody wants freedom. People drink and take drugs and do everything. Everybody wants God, basically. They want total freedom. Even the people who win the lottery and all that, they even can get saturated at some point, and then they can wind up in going in other directions. So ideally, whatever we have in our life, leave it alone and go towards the Atma. Whatever the situation, one might be making $25,000 a year, or one might be a millionaire, multi-millionaire. At the end of the day, everybody's going to turn to dust. Nobody's going to take anything with them, and it's all going to go back into this nature. Nothing is ours to begin with anyway. This body is not ours. This body is ours in the sense it's been given by the Prakriti, by the Paramatma. It's been given to us. It's not really who I am. It's a gift that has been given. So the body is a gift that's been given by God for the purpose of ultimate realization. And then that's where the gurus come into play. The enlightened sages teach us how to use the body for that realization, for that higher development. Now, it's up to each of us. Do we really want that higher development? Sure. So we want that, and the more the internal vaibhav, jisko antarik vaibhav kehte, I mentioned it before, to that extent, you don't need to go out externally so much. There are so many yogis in the history of India, throughout the world also, that sit for dhyan for years. They have very minimal food. They don't even have a place to stay. They're sitting in nature somewhere, and they're sitting in meditation for their whole lifetime. So what is it that they're getting from that? They're experiencing the internal worlds. Ye jo sab Swargalok, Maharlok, Janlok, the Brahmalok and higher lokas, when the Jivatma experiences, let's say, Brahmalok, 1 second of Brahmaji's life is 660 years of our life. So the yogi might go there for 1 second and feel that 660 years have gone by. It's like that. That's why they sit in this world with this body for some time, and then they can leave the body also, but they keep the body. So some sages will keep the body for the purpose of of serving the world, for some purpose like that. And then there are those sages that are called Videhi Mukta. That they're called Jivan Mukta or Videhi Mukta. So Videhi Mukta is like they're in the body, but they're outside the body completely. The body is just there, So बहुत आगे की बात है. Those are very high level Paramahansa level states. Paramahansa, the word Paramahansa simply means one who can see clearly the difference between the Atma and the three bodies. One who has realized that one is the Atma and can leave the three bodies at will at any time. Or by the grace of God, Bhagwan ki ichha se, that Jivatma that Atma Tattva can leave the body. Paramahansa means that one who can separate the three shariras from the Atma. That separation is continuously clear, so the influence of Prakriti doesn't touch the Atma, but then one is able to masterfully move through Prakriti also. So it's not that Prakriti is the problem so much, but the problem is that there is lack of realization of the Atma. If the Atma is realized, the Prakriti is not the problem at all. Everything begins to settle in the right direction automatically. It just settles because the Prakriti is going to function in its own way. Millions of jivas are coming, life forms are coming and going, experiencing sukha and dukkha. This is a fact. They experience all kinds of sukh, they experience all kinds of dukh. And that happens in our life also. We experience all kinds of sukh and all kinds of dukh. But when we come to that realization, of being centered among the sukh and dukh, and not getting enraptured by either. That when sukha is there, different enjoyments and other things, we feel elated and we want more, and it's and we just want to be in that. But then at the same time, if we keep pursuing that further, then at some point it'll be a swinging back from there. Some dukh will be there, some problem will be there, and then it gets saturated again, and then it goes on. But that is not to say that one is not to have the best experiences in life. One can have the best experiences of all kinds as long as they don't cause any damage. Like, for example, if I go to the Grand Canyon and spend 2 or 3 days there and enjoy it real nicely and do all the different tours and everything else, okay, that's a very good, nice level experience. But also you realize you go there for 3 days, you stay there for 4, 5, 6, 7 days. Then by the time the 6th or 7th day comes, you say, I can't wait to get out of here. This place is terrible. That's what will happen. Something that appeared so beautiful and so wonderful, if you have to stay there for a longer period of time, you'll start thinking of home, thinking of New York City, thinking of other places. Let's get out of here. That's what happens. I actually, when I went to Hawaii in 2002, I went to the island of, there were 4 islands that I went to. And in one of the islands, the Polynesian people are there. They have never left the island. They have not even been in a helicopter or anything. They think New York City is heaven. And the people from New York City think New York City is hell, so they wanted to come to Hawaii as heaven. So people staying in that Hawaii, Polynesian people, they cannot wait to get out of there. They believe New York City and Chicago and all these things because they don't have those experiences. They have just the nature experience. They say, what is this nonsense? This is a useless place completely. Because they're brought up inside there. So then they're dreaming of going to New York City. And they were asking us what it's like and what the life is like. And they said, oh, wow, this is awesome. And, you see, ye sab maya ka khel. This is maya ka khel. All of this happens because there is lack of realization of the Atma. When you realize the Atma, you can see the whole Brahmand inside of you. Where's the issue of going anywhere? There's no issue of going to New York or Niagara Falls or to Swargalok or to planet Mars or Venus or every planet. Everything is you can perceive inside of you. So where's the issue of going somewhere? That's why the great sages, they sit for dhyan for hours at a time. And when they begin to see the higher reality, they don't need to go anywhere. They just live a very simple life in their small area. That's all. Then people realize, people come to them, these are great sages like Raman Maharishi. He just stayed in that Arunachal area. He didn't go anywhere. He didn't go to New York City. He didn't go to North India or he didn't go to anywhere actually. He just stayed in that one village, in that one town. And he was completely liberated. So when he's sitting with his eyes closed, whole Brahmand is in front of him. Infinite universes are in front of him. This is the state of great sages. Gunatitanand Swami and Swaminarayan Sampradaya said, Aksharna Rom Ananta Koti Brahmand Fareche. When you realize you are the Akshara Brahma, infinite universes are within you. I mean, these are the things that spiritual evolution can lead to. But it's not going to happen as long as we're caught inside the vortex of the sansar, rag, dvesh, aham, mamatva, going from one place to another, roaming around in the sansar, in the forest of the sansar, is not going to bring about Atmagnan. What will bring about Atmagnan is sadhana and Guru Tattva. Guru Tattva that we're examining here through these scriptures becomes active inside. We continue our sadhana, continue our bhakti, do our regular routines and everything else. But the internal desire to run after the sense objects and the experiences that come after that, it just dissipates. So I gave you my own example 2 days ago. So I have a 1-bedroom condominium here, fine. If I'm totally satisfied in Purana Kam Bhav, then I can continue my sadhana and do other things. But if I'm thinking, no, I have to have a 3-bedroom condominium, I have to have a house in this particular neighborhood, I have to have this and I have to have that and I have to have this, and then this will happen and then that will happen and then this will happen. When I start thinking that way, I'm immediately unhappy. Immediately I'm dissatisfied. Immediately I'm not good enough. What I have is not good enough. Everything seems to be dull. I'm always looking for somebody else. So looking at other people who are more vaibhav, more wealth, more this, and I can spend my whole life running after those things. Body will go away, and the rebirth will happen again. Then that's the only thing. That's the only thing that will happen. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam, iha sansare bahudustar. That's what Shankaracharya ji is saying. Iha sansare bahudustar. Bhagwan Swaminarayan, he mentioned in Vachanamrut. In Gujarati, he said, how much mother's milk we have drank. That it says that as it's just an analogy. How much water is in there in the ocean of the whole oceans of the world? Even more than that, we have drank the mother's milk, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. These great people, they can see all this thing. We don't realize what is Brahma Vidya, what is the glory of this. Now somebody might say, well, if you start doing these things, you just become dull, you just become inactive, no, it's not like that. You become, in fact, very active in doing the right things that will take you towards the Atma, and at the same time realizing the limitations of Rajogun, Tamogun, Sattvagun, realizing the limitations of the running after the Maya, and that realization is held inside. That if you have a glimpse of the realization is held inside. And then from holding that realization inside is exactly what this is referring to, Upariti. The word Upariti here is taking the vrittis and just holding them inside. And in holding them inside, one is never losing touch with the Atma Tattva. And then in the Atma Tattva is Paramatma. So once you get closer to the Atma Tattva, the whole Prakriti is seen around you. That is the source of everything. And the more we move away from that, the more of the entanglements in the sansar will just continue. And you see this everywhere in the sansar. Everywhere you see people getting completely entangled, stuck in thousands of different ways. Hardly anybody is there who is out of this entanglement. And that is from the bacteria cell all the way up to Brahmaji. Each Brahmand has, everybody inside there is somewhere stuck. Now we cannot say Brahmaji is stuck. We don't have authority to say that, because that is one of the forms of the Ishvaras, one of the forms of God. But even then we can say that the Brahmaji is attached to his work of creation. So there is that kind of an attachment also. But that is a form of God, so that is a different matter. So everything in the sansar up to Brahmalok is Nashwant, it is temporary, it is binding. Once you go beyond the Brahmaloka, that is where the moksha begins. That is where the mukti begins at that point, not before that. Before that, you have the Swarga and Nark and this Madhyamlok, back and forth. When you go outside Brahmaloka, when the Jivatma is taken, then the Vaikuntha is there, Golok is there, Shvedvip, the Akshar Brahma is there, all different divine planets. There are so many things that are there that are beyond this. That is all Mukta state. They're all stages of Mukti. In Gopalan Swami Nivato in Gujarat, he said Muktana Bhed. Different muktas are there in different stages. Those are higher. That's a higher spirituality. Wo baat kuch alag hai. We'll get to that some other time in the future. But the fact of the matter is that we have gone through the sansar millions of times. There's nothing really new in that. We have taken all different kinds of bodies, experienced all kinds of things. We've become kings, and we've become poor people, and we've become merchants, and we've become soldiers, and everything has been done. It's not like it hasn't been done, and it will continue to happen unless we have this realization of the Brahman, that I am the Brahman, I am the Atma, I am the devotee of God. When we have this realization, then while living, that divinity opens up in this body at this time. And then from that divinity opening up, then the rest of the life is spent as a service to the humanity. In whatever way we can serve humanity, there's no entanglement. And the other thing that is done is that more and more progression towards the Brahma Vidya continues. Only two forces remain at that point. That is bhakti, or spiritual sadhana, and seva. Seva bhav, serving the world, blessing the world, those things. Not wanting to take something from the world. Not being in a state of comparison with others in the world. It's like everybody's in a prison, and there are different levels within the prison, and they're trying to progress in those levels. Now, should one try to get out of the prison, or try to be more comfortable in those levels in the prison? It's like that. If you go to any jail in this country, there's some prisoners have more freedom than others. Some prisoners are so free that they can walk around almost anywhere, but they're still inside the jail. You see, so becoming more free within the prison of Maya is not mukti. Getting released from the prison of Maya is mukti. So these are some thoughts for today. So we'll continue tomorrow.